So to help take care of the problem of soap breaking out in fine spots of a soap mold, like with this Bucky soap, this one turned out really good, but sometimes that right eye will break out. Sometimes the lettering won't come out perfect. This soap actually came out really good, but it took several tries. And as we saw in the recent video with this green beard grooming one, some of these letterings didn't come out, and the mouth in the beard didn't come out really good. So to solve that, we're trying a new technique. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix white beeswax that I got here off of Amazon, I believe, white beeswax pellets with melt and pour soap. And theoretically, that beeswax is going to harden the soap and help it from breaking out of the smaller areas. So to do that, we have our microwave, we have our soap warmer, and we have a double boiler. For this, we're going to use a double boiler because we want to melt these pellets low and slow until they're melted, and then melt the melt and pour wax into that, because this requires a higher temperature to melt than the melt and pour. So we're going to go ahead. This ratio is about 2 grams to 30 grams approximately, which is a high percentage for melt and pour. But again, I want it to be sturdy and solid in the front part of the soap. So we're going to go ahead and mix those into our double boiler. You can tell that it's already starting to boil. So we got water in there, and we got our melter pot. So we're going to put the pellets in there and check the progress. Once they're melted, we'll add the melt and pour soap. So we can go ahead and add the pellets, and just keep an eye on those. If this gets too hot, that water will boil over, so we want to avoid that. So I try to keep an eye on the temperature and not heat it too fast or overheat it. So we just want to keep it kind of a low and slow heat that will eventually melt those pellets. Then we're going to add the melt and pour soap, so hang tight. And we can see that they're already starting to glisten just a little bit, starting to get a little melt on there, so making good progress. All right, still melting. In fact, it's making good progress. We should be there soon. I have turned that up to between medium and low to get it just a little hotter, but we should be there soon. All right, so it's melted down good. There we go. And we started to get a little boil over, so I turned it back down to low. But now we're going to add the melt and pour to that and get that melted, which shouldn't take long. Okay, here we go with the melt and pour. Okay, so we have the melt and pour added to the liquefied beeswax pellets, and this should not take long to melt down. So we'll keep an eye on it and mix it thoroughly, and then we're going to pour it into the molds. Hang tight. All right, the moment of truth. We have it nice and hot. You can see it's boiling over and it's liquefied and everything is mixed together. So we're going to go straight. We're going to turn that off first. And then we're going to go straight from the pot to the mold, and we're going to cover the bottom of the mold with that, like so. Get it, make sure it's all nice and covered. And we do the same in this Firehouse mustache wax mold. And we're going to give those some time to set up. Make sure everything's in there nice and good. And then we're going to wipe it down and put a second layer of soap in there and see how it turns out. Hang tight. Alright, so this is the hardened wax soap combo. And the next step is to use this little sponge that I've cut out from a larger sponge. And then I use some hot water and rub it down till we can see the impression from the mold underneath that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. We'll be right back. Alright, so we've rubbed down the wax and soap combo. And when I get to this point, I like to look for a couple things. I'm going to point them out here. So you see in that B at the top there that it's 2 holes. Well, that means that the soap did not get into those impressions, and you can see it in the E and the D and in the mouth there and in the P. So there's a couple places there where it didn't fill in, and then there's a little one right around the circle there. I don't know if you can see that. So before I pour the next layer, because those will not show up correctly if I don't do this, I'm going to go ahead and take some extra soap melt and fill those in and rub them down. Make sure everything gets filled in with the top layer of soap properly before we move on to the next layer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for this other one. It looks like everything's filled in pretty good, so I think we're good on that. I need to check that A right there. Might need a little bit in that A right there. So we'll go ahead and touch those up before we pour the next layer. We'll be right back. We've filled in the holes in the lettering and wiped those down, so I think we're ready to go. For the backfill, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing as we did for this earlier attempt, and I'm just going to use my soap cutter, my handy dandy soap cutter there, to cut the white off of that. Then I'll remelt the green with the pine scented green, and we'll repour that and see how it demolds. And I think it should turn out better than this one. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so we have our next layer of soap ready to go. I'm going to spray some isopropyl in there. The green pine scented soap is at the right temperature. I'm going to go ahead and pour that. The red soap for the Firehouse Mustache Wax, still a little hot, so I'm going to hold off on that. But this is the one we're really focusing on for this video. Look at that great coloring. Isn't that awesome? You can see my earlier video on this soap to see which mica I used for that, but that's just awesome. Smells tremendous. So we'll see how it demolds. Hang tight. Alright, so not all projects turn out as you plan, and this is the soap with white beeswax pellets infused. The hope was to get the parts inside the letters a little firmer, and the mouth there. Obviously these did not go as planned, so it was a good experiment and a good try, but I think ultimately I'm going to have to work on the logo to make it a little more bulletproof in terms of being able to demold more consistently. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned something here as I did.